Hi friends, this is Mental Health Memo. I'm Sveti, this here is Cookie, and today's memo is panic attacks are a pain in the ass. So for today's video, I kind of wanted to go over some tips, strategies, and effective ways of coping and dealing with a panic attack when it's happening. So the first way that you can deal with a panic attack is by using distractions. So the reason distractions are really effective is that your brain can't actually focus on two things at once. For whatever reason, we seem to think that we can multitask and focus on two things at once or three things at once, but the reality is we actually can't. So our brain can only focus on one thing at a time, process one thing at a time. And so if you are distracting yourself, you are gonna be distracting yourself from the panic attack, essentially, because your brain can't focus on the panic attack and something else. Now, the tricky part about this is that you have to find a distraction that is distracting enough and difficult enough to override your thinking about the panic attack, but it also can't be too difficult and too confusing and too hard to do, because if it is, then your brain is just kind of gonna give up on it and go back to thinking about the panic attack. You really kind of have to find a perfect sweet middle spot, if you will, that is just distracting enough, but also not too difficult where your brain is just kind of like, you know what, nah, this is too hard, I'm gonna focus on the panic. So some examples of distractions can be talking to someone else, drawing, fidgeting, playing games, watching something. All of those things can be really effective. It kind of just depends on you. So distractions work the best for me just because one of my biggest triggers is feeling weird sensations in my body. Like if I'm bloated, I get panicky. If I can't breathe well, I get panicky. If my body just feels abnormal, I get really panicky, and I get panicky about the fact that I can't control it. Personally, I really like a game called Word Cookies or something like that. I don't really remember, but it's a game where you kind of have a bunch of letters and a given amount of words that you can make with those letters, and you kind of have to figure out what they are. One time I actually had someone tell me to count backwards in threes in French because I speak French, and that proved to be too difficult of a task. Mostly because of the numbers, not the French. Either way, you have to kind of find the thing that works specifically for you that meets that sweet spot of being distracted enough but not too distracted. So the next technique is breathing techniques. A lot of times when you have a panic attack, you're usually hyperventilating or your breathing is labored. And so a way to kind of calm yourself is to practice certain breathing techniques that'll bring you to a more normal pace of breathing. So one technique specifically that I think is really easy to remember and apply is called the 4-square breathing technique. So basically, you breathe in for 4 seconds, and you can do this, you can actually do this if you'd like, or you can just count it in your brain, whatever you'd like. But just for the purposes of understanding the whole exercise, I'll actually kind of do it. So draw a line right in the air, and you breathe in as you're drawing that line for 4 seconds. So you go for 4 seconds, and then you hold it for 4 seconds and draw another line, so the second line. And then you breathe out for 4 seconds while drawing that line, and then you hold it again for another line. And so as you can see, it kind of makes a square. And so the point is to keep drawing this square in the air and, breathing for 4, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, holding again for 4. And this should kind of bring you back to that normal breathing pace that you should have. So that's just one technique. There are a lot of other techniques, like for example, belly breathing, which is putting your hand on your belly and trying to fill your belly up with air rather than your lungs, because that'll give you kind of a deeper breath. There's all types of breathing techniques, really. You just got to figure out which one works for you. I don't really like breathing techniques because, like I mentioned, my trigger is feeling sensations in my body, which sounds a little weird, but noticing my breath, for me makes me more panicky. And so if I was to do these breathing techniques, I'm going to be focusing even more on my breath by trying to like control it. And in turn, that actually makes me more panicky rather than calming me down. So for me personally, breathing techniques don't work, but they're actually very useful for the majority of people that have panic attacks. So if that's you, I really recommend that you try them. So the third strategy, which is pretty kind of clear and evident, is medication. So typically benzodiazepines are what are given to people that are having panic attacks, whether that is a prescription that you have or whether you go to the ER and they give you that to calm you down. That's typically what will be given if you're having a panic attack. So basically these drugs sedate the nervous system. They kind of help to slow down and cool everything off so that you can kind of, simmer down, calm down a little bit. Kind of not gonna go too into detail for the sake of time. I did write a whole 2 posts actually about medication. So if you are interested in knowing more about these drugs, click on the link in the description. They will lead you to the blog posts and you can read all about them and what they do, how they work, and all the different types. So are you okay? So yeah, if you are interested, just click on the links below. So the only things that I will say are really important to know about these drugs, so everyone can kind of know this instead of having to click on my blog posts. These drugs are very addictive and your body becomes very used to them very quickly. So if you keep taking them, you're gonna have to keep upping your dose and your dependency is also going to grow. So they are very, very addictive. So it's important to be very careful when you're taking them. And you actually can OD on these and you can become addicted. So it's very important to be careful. So I personally have been prescribed lorazepam, which is a type of benzodiazepine. And I essentially take it whenever I am unable to calm myself down by alternative means than medication. So it's very much an emergency type medication that I don't take often and that I don't want to take often because I will get addicted inevitably if I keep taking it. So if you do have medication that has been prescribed to you, I would strongly recommend you kind of always keep a few at hand even when you're going out, so that if you do end up getting a panic attack, you can take it. I mean, essentially medication is pretty straightforward. You take it as per the directions outlined by your psychiatrist or doctor or whoever prescribed you these. Hopefully they're a licensed professional. But taking them as per the instructions and, not overdoing it. So the fourth technique is grounding techniques. Typically with a panic attack, you can feel very out of body, very dizzy, very just dissociated and completely not present on earth in any way, shape, or form. So if that is part of how you experience panic attacks, I know that's how I personally experience them, it's very important to have some grounding techniques kind of under your belt that you can always use so that you can help pull yourself back down to earth and the ground. And so much like the breathing techniques, there are millions, okay, maybe not millions, but there are a lot of different grounding techniques that you can try and see kind of what works best for you. Some suggestions might be counting 5 things you can see, 5 things you can smell, 5 things you can touch and feel, 5 things, wait, what did I say? I don't even know what I said. Basically 5 things you can whatever with every single one of your senses. Another technique could be it's a little hard to explain, but you start at the bottom of your feet and you kind of just notice everything. You notice, how your socks feel if you're wearing socks. You notice how the ground is. Is it soft? Is it hard? Is there a carpet? Is it wood? Is it concrete? And you kind of slowly trickle your way up and you start noticing the texture of your pants, how it feels, are they tight on your body, etc., etc. And you just keep kind of making your way up and, noticing everything you possibly can about, all the different parts of your body. When you get to your hands, you can move them, you can look at them, you can count things. Like really, it's just whatever feels natural in being present with your body and noticing it. So that's kind of like a body check, which is another thing that you can do. There are different types of body checks though, so it's important to try different ones and see which ones work for you. Another thing that could be helpful is holding on to something that brings you comfort. For me, it's Cookie, which is why she sits here with me when I do these videos. She helps to ground me and keep me calm and happy and comfy. So, you know, well, she's not an object, she's a living thing, but you get the gist. It can be, you know, your support animal, it can be a pillow, it can be a blanket, it can be a pen, it can really be whatever you want. Holding on to something can help you feel, you know, a little bit more grounded, especially if it's a living thing. If it's a person, you know, you can hold their hand, you can hold onto their arm, and you can feel a little bit more grounded that way. Essentially, grounding techniques are meant to, you know, bring you back to earth, help you be a bit more present. So however that is achieved for you is fine, as long as it, you know, just does the grounding. So don't stress if this is not you, and don't stress if none of the other stuff is you. Everyone deals with panic attacks differently. Everyone feels panic attacks in a different way, and even that same person is going to feel a panic attack differently one day versus another day. Some days something might work, other days it might not. So there's no reason to feel bad about something not working, or only one thing working, or it working some days and not others. You really just kind of have to feel out your body, your mind, see what is useful, when it's useful, and just use that to the best of your ability. You don't have to stress about having the perfect technique or anything like that. So I hope that this video was helpful in any way to any of you that experience panic attacks, or maybe if you're someone who wants to learn about it because a loved one has them, then I hope that you have learned something and might be able to apply some of this in helping your loved one, or maybe recommending them to watch this video. Either way, I hope that you have learned something about panic attacks. So if you like this video, please give it a like. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel and click the little bell button so you can get notifications when I upload. I'm always posting videos about mental health related content. That's kind of the point of my channel. If you have any recommendations or any comments or any alternative techniques that you would like to share, please comment in the comments below. I think that we can always learn more and find even more information out there about how to live better and live healthier and live happier. So that is it from us. If you're watching this in the morning, I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you're watching this at night, I hope you have a restful sleep. And that is it. Sweaty and Cookie signing off. Bye. I can't get up my leg. My leg. I can't move my leg. It's actually, oh my god. Cookie. Cookie, my leg. Cookie. Cookie, I can't move my leg, man. Oh. Bye.